This video is made from a candlelight vigil organized by Congresswoman Grace Meng to commemorate the first anniversary of the massive factory collapse in Bangladesh that killed more than 1,000 people.
This tragedy has been personal. I've been honored to represent the community on issues that are important, including issues right in our local backyard. As we all know, this week a young boy was injured outside the Jamaica Muslim Center on Hillside Avenue. We're working with Assemblyman David Webrid, Councilman Rory Lansman, and others to make sure that conditions are safer on the streets, especially there, and we're all praying for him to make a speedy recovery. Today we're honored to have so many of our labor leaders, not just here in New York City, but throughout the country. First, I would like to call on someone who has literally been to Bangladesh to see what more we can do. Stuart Applebaum, president of RWDSU UMC.
They were mothers, they were fathers, they were brothers and sisters, they were husbands and wives. 1,133 workers were killed and more than 2,500 were injured. And those deaths and injuries could have been avoided. When I met last December in Dhaka, Bangladesh, with Rana Plaza survivors and their families, as well as survivors of the Taj Mahal factory fire, they made it painfully clear to me that another factory tragedy will happen unless we work to prevent it. We must demand that all workers, whether here in New York City or in Bangladesh, be treated with dignity and respect. To honor the victims of Rana Plaza and their families and all the other tragedies, we must ensure that the safety of workers is treated as a human right and the legal responsibility of employers in Bangladesh and everywhere. H&M and more than 100 other global brands and retailers have joined the accord over the past year. But shamefully, most American retailers here in the United States have refused to do so. They know who they are. Today, I'm calling several of them out by name. Walmart, Target, The Gap, Children's Place, JCPenney. You need to step up and join the accord. Until you do, your words of concern for survivors of Rana Plaza will ring false and hollow. All employers, especially powerful global retailers and the factories they use, should view it as a duty to maintain workplaces free of hazardous conditions that can cause death and fatal injury.
And they are our brothers and sisters, you know. All working men and women have a common bond. And it does not matter what country you live in, what country you work in, where you were born, what type of job you have, what sector you work in. We all have a common bond around this globe. And it's a bond that says we all share the same needs and the same concerns and the same wants. And we share the same values and the same principles and the same ideals. And those principles and ideals are basically this. We all want to be able to go to work every morning to provide for ourselves and our families. We all want to be able to be part of the economic engine that runs our particular country. And we all want to be productive members of society. That's what we want.
Why we are here today? For our safety contract. How many has to die? How many has to die for our safety contract? We need to raise our voice. 80% women are survivors. They lost their husband, they lost their children, even themselves, they are disabled. They don't have any shelter. Month, they are earning only 37, 45 cents. Is it okay to survive everyday's life? How we can change? Only way we can change to raise our voice. That way I am raising, that way I am taking action, that way I am demonstrating.
Here joins events like today to keep spreading the word and forcing these companies to pay what they owe, sign the report, and be responsible employers.
Today we mourn for all of those who lost their lives and all of those who are still suffering. Suffering from the worst garment factory incident in history. 1,100 workers lost their lives, most of them women. We pray today for their souls, but we commit ourselves today to improving safety, fire, and inspection standards in Bangladesh. All of us must demand that these multinational corporations respect the human rights of all workers, that they improve the lives of individuals in Bangladesh, particularly women. I know that some progress has been made. But more needs to be done. And so, let us never forget what happened in Rana Plaza. Let us never forget what happened here in New York City at Triangle Shirt Factory. Let us never forget the plight of workers. Let us remain united in improving the standards of all people, here at home, but also in Bangladesh and abroad. And let us unite to ensure that all of us can live in dignity. We can all live in respect.
Congresswoman Grace Meng for her leadership on this issue, to take an issue that means so much to the local Bangladeshi community and champion this issue on a national and international level. Will you give her another round of applause? That we have to understand that part of our mission is to make sure that worker safety and the rights of our workers transcend all countries. And the fire in Bangladesh is a symptom of what has to happen in the international community. 58 trustees, with our labor partner, with our public advocate, with our borough president, to ensure that the tough questions are asked, that this becomes part of our shareholder activism. And I want you to know this conversation has already begun, and we will continue to report back every step of the way.
A year ago today, April 24th, 2013, over 1,100 people were killed when the Rana Plaza building collapsed onto the factory workers, and more than 2,000 were seriously injured. This was one of the most tragic affronts to human rights that the world has seen. After this tragedy, I, along with Congresswoman Grace Meng, organized a vigil a year ago, shortly after the tragedy, for those who fell victim to this horrible tragedy, right here at Taj Mahal. As a community, we drew attention to this disaster and effected a lot of change for those still working in factories in Bangladesh. We have to thank our Congresswoman Grace Meng as well for applying international pressure on this issue. However, we have not done enough. There's a lot of work yet to do. There are many who lost a family member or the ability to work themselves and who have not received a single cent from the government or the big clothing brands that were referred to and singled out earlier by our labor leaders.
Along with you, all of you, I deeply mourn the death of the Bangladeshi workers, 1,100 plus workers. We deeply express our sincere sympathy and consolation for the affected families and the injured persons. The government of Bangladesh, under the leadership of the Honorable Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, remains deeply committed in addressing the safety, security, and labor issues in the R&D sector, which employs about 4.5 million workers, most of whom, perhaps more than 90%, are women workers who greatly contribute not only to the economy, but have raised the profile of the country internationally for its signature success as a country for women empowerment. Ladies and gentlemen, the government of Bangladesh remains deeply engaged with the major stakeholders, with the concerned countries and international organizations, including ILO, to improve the situation. When I entered the room, I was encouraged to hear from one distinguished speaker, if I remember correctly, that progress has been made, but much more needs to be done. This is very important. Even in Bangladesh, this is a recognition to the ongoing effort being made by the present government, but at the same time, it's a recognition to the fact that it's an onerous job and task which needs time and sustain before, and we need the help of our friends at home and abroad. We appreciate the support we receive, and we always believe additional support, more support would be helpful to reach our target. And I believe we may have our own identity, Bangladeshi, or you may have US national, whatever it is, but our common goal is same, improving the quality of life.
We're all here because we care deeply about this community and the close ties that we know all of you have to your home country. And when I was in the state of Florida, I used to chair a subcommittee on workplace safety. So we know that workplace safety issues exist everywhere in the world, including here in the United States, including here in the great state of New York. What we witnessed in Bangladesh a year ago really took all of our breath away. The scope of the tragedy and what was, of course, I think most striking for me and for many of us was just how preventable it was. And here Stuart Applebaum, a terrific labor leader who took the time to go to Bangladesh and see firsthand and be an advocate for those workers and hear the progress that has been made with those companies that have decided to be responsible is really heartwarming. But of course, to hear the pushback and that some companies like Walmart and others are being irresponsible and setting up Bangladeshi workers, most of whom are women, for potentially another tragedy like what happened at Rana Plaza is disheartening. So I'm glad to be here today as part of this coalition. And that's what it takes to improve the lives of working people, whether it's wages, benefits, safety, you name it. It's to form a coalition of concerned citizens, civic leaders, your elected representatives, our terrific labor leaders, and our government officials. So you can be assured that we'll do everything that we can. I'll do everything that I can to make sure that what happened at Rana Plaza is not forgotten, but more importantly, is not repeated.